Hey guys, Dustin, PPC Pros, doing this video on choosing a CRM for your tour business. So a lot of questions come up around software and around solutions for your business. And CRMs is one that comes up quite a bit, probably not as often as booking software, but it's equally important and something that I wanted to just cover some of the really high level points to consider when you're looking for a CRM. So we're going to talk about what features you want to look for, pricing structures, integrations, and again, the learning curve and support. So these are just a few considerations. It's not the end all be all, but it's a good list to help get you started if you're shopping around or considering what CRM you should choose for your tour company. So let's just jump right in. So features to look for. For sure, you're going to want to have a way to segment your list, segment customers, and that's going to, or even leads. You don't have to be customers yet. You want to, usually it's going to be through something called tags. So that's where you can tag a contact with certain information. But you just got to make sure when you have, when you're using a CRM, it's got a very easy, simple way to segment customers into different lists, different groups, based on certain common features by adding tags. A lot of times there's some automation involved with tag creation that goes a little bit more into like the integration side of things, but definitely make sure there's a way you can divide your list. If you've got certain types of experiences and tours that people have booked, or certain types of customers, B2B, B2C, that type of thing, you want to just segment those lists because you have different messages and probably different flows for each one of them. You want to make sure you've got different communication options. So a lot of CRMs are only using email. I think now it's getting to the point where a lot of them are also integrating SMS, but having SMS, email, phone, voicemail drops, these are all really great things. Direct mail is even another one that can be super helpful if you want to send thank you cards or things like that. So just make sure you understand what your communication options are. And then of course, costs involved with those. And then custom fields or variables. So you want to be able to enrich your customer data. So this could be where you can create custom fields for certain things. Like maybe you want to be able to track how much revenue a customer brought, or you want to track, what experience or tour they went on, or you want to be able to do, who their tour guide was, or things like that. Just make sure your system allows that. It makes it easy to enrich that data with custom fields or variables. Again, this is going to tie into some automation with how you actually implement it a lot of times, but just make sure it's not extra feature that puts you in another price plan or it's not available. And then lastly, on this particular point, I mentioned automations a few times, but you want to have it to where you can automate the nurture and basically customer upsells and the experience in a CRM. I mean, most CRMs have some level of automation, but just make sure that it has a simple to use, pretty, I'd say, flexible or robust way to automate. So maybe you want to have a drip sequence that's more than just email. Maybe you want to send an email, then maybe a text, and maybe something like a voicemail drop or a direct mail piece. You want to do it based on a certain date, like not just the day that you're adding them into this automation, but maybe the date that something else happened, like they have a booking. So just think about automations and how you might want to use it. I don't think you should try to get super advanced or super complicated with this. Just make sure you've got some decent options. So again, nurture of customers after they've been on a tour with you. You want to stay in touch. As far as upsells, once they book a particular tour or experience with you, upsell them, whatever else, an add-on, maybe it's insurance. If you're talking about like a rental, something like that. But you want to be able to automatically do that without having to get manually involved with it. Then let's talk about pricing considerations there. So a lot of CRMs, I wouldn't say all, but they have a flat fee based on the number of contacts. This is probably the most common way that they charge. There's usually also feature upgrades, things like that, like different service levels. So just be aware that a lot of times CRMs will make their lowest tier a little bit cheaper per contact than if you get higher up in the tiers. So for example, say you've got a list of 500 people and you go on something, let's just say like MailChimp. I don't know if this is factual, I'm just using this as an example. As you grow that list to become from 500 to 5,000, you might find yourself, if you compare CRMs at that level, choosing a much more expensive option than you would have had you known that. So I'd say when you're looking at pricing, look at not just the level you're on now, but the level you're likely to get to, and just see if that pricing parity still makes sense, because it might make more sense to pay a little bit more early on to save money later, because once your list gets really big, moving, and once you've got all these automations, moving is very difficult. I mean, it's not hard to get your data into another system, but it's hard to get all your automations in there and get people in the same spot that they left off, all that sort of thing. Just keep that in mind. This is basically what I just said, so I won't cover that. If there's any additional costs for a feature, so like one example would be like HubSpot, right? They're a great CRM. They're also, on the pricier side, and as you like upgrade your plans based on certain features, they upgrade the pricing, they increase the price. So just make sure when you're looking at a CRM, you're considering like the plan you'd probably be on or where you might want to be. Similar to the contacts, just be aware that the entry-level base plan may not have the features that you're looking for, but it may seem really, really attractive because that's their entry point to get you as a customer. So just be aware of that. And then if there is SMS or other types of features, usually it's SMS or like direct mail, make sure you understand the usage cost for that. A lot of CRMs include some usage, not all of them. I can't speak for all of them, but you definitely want to just have an idea and make sure it's not ridiculously expensive compared to what an SMS message should cost in that particular case. So integrations, another important one. You want to make sure they integrate with your core system. So if possible, your ResTech solution, if you've got any other softwares you're using, look for integrations or make sure they have like either a native direct integration, which is the best, but that's not always possible, or some type of a Zapier or webhook integration if your ResTech allows webhooks. And so this way, when you're getting a booking, let's say for an example, you can pull that contact into your CRM and fire off some of these automations through tags that we talked about already. But having that in place is really, really important because the last thing you want to have is one system that doesn't talk to your CRM, and then connecting those two things together, get the contacts in there, is a manual process. That is not a way to win. It is the most annoying thing in the world. If you've had to do it, you know what I'm talking about. So just make sure that the integrations are there for the systems and you don't have to manually piece that together or even hire somebody to do it. And then having a Google Sheets or export option can be helpful. Let's say you want to look at custom reports, you want to create graphs out of things, and maybe the CRM doesn't really do what you're looking for it to do, which is pretty common. Then just having a way that you can export all the data to Google Sheets where it's done maybe automatically, or just exporting things into an Excel or Google Sheet can give you that flexibility to do something like a data studio, a Google Data Studio report. Now it's called Looker Studio, but basically you can take raw data and visualize it for yourself if you need to. And then just again, think through the ways you're going to use it. Think about like the data you're going to want or you're going to need to have to integrate or to execute. You want to make sure like if there's data you think you want to have, going back to the custom fields part, you're able to add custom fields or places to get that data into the system. And then also, can you automatically pull that data through? Is there always going to be manual? So just be aware, integrations will make that a lot easier. The learning curve. This one is the one that a lot of people underestimate, in my opinion. For the learning curve, you have to get to know your new CRM. You want to be able to use it effectively and efficiently. It doesn't mean you're going to be the best. Doesn't mean you're going to have to know every single feature, every single in and out of it. But you have to know the core features that you're going to use pretty well. So you want to make sure that you've got a CRM that has a decent knowledge base or some help docs. That way, like when you're doing stuff late at night and their support's not available, you can kind of learn as you go, maybe even video, YouTube, something like that, but some type of a reference point that you can have to be able to get the answers you're looking for. And then do they offer support? Some CRMs only offer email support. Some only do ticket-based support. A lot of times you're going to want to talk to somebody if things get too hairy. It doesn't mean you have to. It just makes it a lot faster sometimes. So if they have like a way to hop on a call with them, even if it's not a phone call, maybe it's just like booking a session, like a demo or whatever, a time with like to do a screen share. That can be really valuable and helpful just to get you unstuck for something that might be just a really simple issue. You just have to visually walk through with somebody. And then is there an option to get you set up for a fee? So this is, a lot of people don't want to have to pay a setup fee if they don't want, but if it gets you, if it takes you, let's say 2 or 3 or 4 weeks to get to the point where you're actually at a place where you can be set up, would it be better just to pay somebody to get you to that point a lot faster? It might still take a few weeks, but it won't take your time, and then at least get you started on the right foot. Still, when you have a setup like that, there's going to be some customization you're going to want to do. It's still going to require you to jump in there a little bit for the most part, but if they can get you most of the way through, it'll save you so much more time, so much more headache, because for the most part, things will only have to get set up once as long as they're done right. And you just have to understand a little bit about how, maybe not every nuance, but the ways it impacts you. Understand what's going on with that setup so you can know that going forward. But it doesn't require you to actually do all the work a lot of the time. So, why have to get into the weeds on that if you can have somebody just do it for a fee? And then the other question you have to ask yourself is, do you have the time to learn it well enough to use it? If you don't think you're gonna have the time, then having like a setup option like this is really smart, or hiring a consultant or somebody, maybe a staff member, to do that part for you. It makes a lot of sense. But usually for most CRMs these days, there is a bit of a learning curve because there's so much you can do, and you just have to understand based on what you want to do with it, are you going to have or make the time to learn the system? If not, well, then it's going to be very difficult for you to get ahead. So just keep that in mind. And then lastly, if you are looking for a CRM option, our system, Conversion Assist, was made to help tour operators get more reviews, make your staff more efficient, improve the customer experience, and get more bookings. By no means am I saying you have to use it. I'm just saying it's an option that does a lot of the things that we talked about on this slide, but there's a lot of other great CRMs out there. So I just wanted to share this with you as well, conversionassist.me. We do offer hand-holding support. If you need to hop on a call, get things sorted out, that's great. We integrate with a lot of the booking systems out there, not all of them, because they don't all allow you to. But it's pretty cool, pretty helpful. A lot of people love it. But again, do with what's best for you. One other kind of ending remark is think about, your business is different from everybody else's a lot of times. There's a lot of similarities, I'm sure, but you might want to do things differently. So as you get recommendations for software, just bear in mind, I would say spend a little bit of time before you ask people what software should I use, to understand what you're going to do with it and what you'd like to do, and what are like the non-negotiables that you need to have, and really make sure that they're non-negotiable. Some people are like, no, it has to have this. And then when you think about it, like a year later after they got the system, they never even used it, right? Because in their mind it was non-negotiable, but in reality, it was just a nice to have. So really think about it. Like, what are the, my business needs this to run features? What are the, hey, it'd be really great if these were there right now features? And then what are the ones that'd be wishful thinking later on? And just focus on that first bucket and that second bucket. And the other ones, by the time, you get to that, who knows? Your system might have upgraded and might already include some of those, nice to have in the future sort of thing. So just make sure you're looking at the right priorities. You see a lot of people that get software that don't use most of what it does. There's nothing wrong with that if you went into it knowing that. But if you bought it for all these features that you're never going to actually use, then you may have made a kind of an unwise choice. You might have missed out on a better solution for your needs now and in the near future. So hope that helps. Again, tour operators, CRMs, it can be really difficult to find one that works for you, but just keep some of these tips in mind, and hope you find something that works for you, and have a great day. God bless.